to another episode of Groovi Tuesday. My name is Paul Church from Clarity Stamp here in the UK. How is everyone doing today? I shall just waffle on for a little bit whilst everyone pulls up a chair and gets comfortable. There we go. I can see we've got some viewers. I shall just wait for the chat to kick in. So I know there's a slight time delay of me talking and everyone tuning in. So yes, it's sunny, muggy. Good morning, Mo. Just back from 3 weeks in Mexico. Wow, miss seeing me on Groovy. Oh, thank you. At least you can go back and watch, can't you? Now that you're back. Hope you had a lovely time. Good morning to the lovely. Who have we got? We've got Helen Stevens, Julie Campbell, Bernie Hayes, lovely Pat Hoskins, Maggie Craner. Good morning. Oh, here comes everybody now. Everyone's piling into the room now. Oh dear. I'm glad it's a virtual room as well because it's very warm in this studio. I've got the fan on underneath my desk because there's no windows in here. Even though I have the door open all day and the fan on this morning, it's still very, very warm. So should we have our usual weather report? I saw Anja said that it's overcast and it looks as if it's wanting to rain in Clitheroe. Helen's only been here for a little while today. She's missed us for a few weeks. But you know what? It's great because you can go back if you want to and watch all of the previous episodes. So if you've been away on holiday or you've been too busy, then you can go back and see what we got up to. Got drizzle in Ripon, overcast in Nottingham, warm and overcast in Crawley. Maggie says it's dull and almost chilly. Wow, better get that heating on, Maggie. Oh dear. It's overcast in Cornwall, over some rain on Thursday. Yeah, I think it's quite mixed this week, isn't it? I think they sort of keep saying it's definitely meant to be a lot cooler, and it definitely is. I mean, yesterday there was a lovely sort of breeze or wind. That was quite cooling if you was in the direction of the way it was blowing. So this is lovely. I love having all these weather reports from all over the country and all over the world. We've got where was that one I've just seen? We've got Ellen says for a very warm grey South Norway. So yes, it is. It's a real mixed bag, isn't it? I know they're forecasting again more sort of the temperature increasing over the next couple of weeks. So perfect opportunity to stay indoors, pull the curtains down, keep the heat out and craft. Whether we're doing stamping, whether we're doing knitting, whether we're doing crocheting, or just a little bit of groovy, just that distraction just for an hour or so each day definitely cools the mind, I think. Especially when we're looking at the festive season on TV, Christmas. Definitely feels strange dealing with Christmas designs in the middle of this hot, glorious weather. And I suppose one of the benefits of being up at the TV is that they've got air conditioning, but it does spoil you when you come out of the studio and walk out the door of the building, and it's like getting off that aeroplane in a hot country, and it just whoosh, it just sort of hits you. So I hope everybody's been behaving and staying out of trouble. We're carrying on with our lovely Leafy frame. So if you've missed us for a couple of weeks, let's have a bit of a recap on what we've been looking at. So this is the plate. This is one of our A5 poetry plates. And we've been looking at this. I thought this was great because not only does it have a lovely poem on the inside, excuse me, but this lovely leafy frame. Excuse me, let me just have a slurp of coffee. Sue is in the room with you today. I forgot to mention that. There we go. Sue's found us. So if you've got any questions, I mean, we've got the lovely design team in the room as well. So crafting while watching Wimbledon. Has Wimbledon started? Ooh, I do like a bit of Wimbledon every now and again. I thought it was next week. Maybe it is this week. Don't know. Anyway, I digress. We've been looking at this poetry plate that Sue's just popped the link up to. And I thought this was great because the leafy frame around the outside is so universal, can be used for different occasions, for male, female, young, old. It has that really nice generic feel to it. And you can use it on its side as well, the way in which it's been designed. And these were designed by the lovely Mel Turner. And as on one of the sessions, I showed how we can sort of make it smaller. So you don't necessarily have to go for the full rectangle. You can make it smaller. You can use just a corner of it. This would be great just down the side of a card into a corner with something else. Thank you, Maggie. Wimbledon starts next week. Super duper. So we had a look at this play, and that's what we've been working on. We're now on week 3 on this. And what I thought would be great is that we'd combine it with the rose lattice plate that we used previously on previous episodes. So just sort of bringing 2 designs, one that we spent a good number of weeks on with that lovely lattice frame and Jane's rose in the middle, and combining it with this leafy frame. So we had a look at how we could make it smaller. And then last week, I combined the rose with the poem. Okay. And what we did was I put the rose in first. Well, I did the frame first. Then I put the rose in, and then I added in the poem. And what we had to do was just tweak it a little bit in relation to the positioning. See, so at Beauty's glance and watch her feet. And all we did was we just moved it along a little bit so that it fitted around a rose. Okay. So that's where we've been looking at over the last couple of weeks. So if you want to see how that was done, and you've been away, maybe you've been in Mexico like Mo has, or you've been busy the last couple of weeks, then you can go back and tune in and have a recap. Okay. So I thought what we'd do is we'd have a look at some colour on this one. Now, when we worked with this rose previously, wherever I put it, oh no, I haven't got it, have I? I sent it off. It was a winner for Karen Gilligan. She won it on the 100th episode. I'm just thinking, that's why I couldn't find it this morning. The brain cells are sort of slowly disappearing. That's why I couldn't find it. I spent 15, 20 minutes looking for it this morning, thinking, where's it gone? And now the penny has dropped. I realised where it is. But for the previous one, what we did, we looked at using the pergaliner pencils. So I thought for today's session, we'd have a look. We rarely go to them. We'd have a look at the Dorso crayons. Now, you can use pencils or you can use pens. It's entirely up to you. But I thought what we'd do is we'd have a little bit of a play with the Dorso crayons and see what we can come up with. Because if you also make a mistake with the crayons, you can rub them out with a double-ended eraser, just like you can with the pencils. So I thought that's what we'd have a look at today, some different sort of uses for them with the mix mats, the blending pens, even a tissue, just to add some detail. So that's where I thought we'd head today. Got lots to tell you about of upcoming TV shows. So what we're going to need is we're going to need our Dorso crayons or pergaliner pencils. We're going to need our piece of artwork, just like so. We're going to need our blending pen, now back in stock, a mix mat. So I've got one that says oil. We definitely need some Dorso oil, spot-on sponge, and maybe a tissue if you've got one. And I think what we'll do, there we go. Karen says she's got her card. I'm glad you received it safely. Yeah, I'd completely spaced that. Totally, I couldn't find it at all. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to tidy up this room, but where would I have put it? But there you go. It's dawned on me. So that's what we're going to have a look at during this session. Okay, I see Sue's just popped the links up to the dorsal oil, to the crayons. Proved really popular on TV the last few weeks. So yeah, so I thought we'd get them out of the box and have a look. What do you think about that? Who's got the Dorso crayons and never used them? Who's still got them in the box unopened? Go on, hands up. I bet there's a number of you out there that have them and haven't even ventured to use them. Oh, it's definitely getting warm in this room. But a nice hot cup of coffee. Oh, excuse me. That definitely went. Try to drink before talking. So let's have a look. So Sue's got them, never used them. Karen's got them, never used them. Pat Hoskins, I knew Pat Hoskins would have them, and I bet she's used them very successfully over the years. Pat, a question for you. Is it still the original box of crayons that you have, or have you topped them up over the years? That's right, Jane was demoing them at the open days. Kenny's guilty as charged. He's got them, never played with them. See? Jane Lindsay's got them and used them. There you go. See, it's a real mixed bag, isn't it? Jean's got the lively ones, but not used them. Right, well, we're definitely going to change that. I think we should definitely get them out. All of you at home that have got them in an unopened box should get them out and have a play. Definitely. Because they are safe as well, because you can rub out if you don't like what you're doing, just like you can with the pencils. Right, are we good to go then? I reckon we are. Eyes down for a full house, as they say. Right, okay. So what we're going to do first, let's have a look. What are we going to do first? Come on, Paul, get your act together. I'm going to go with my practice piece first. Okay, I say my practice piece. This is a nice piece to experiment on using the crayons. Okay, so if I take them out, they come in lovely little boxes. They're all protected in sponge to stop them breaking. But if they do break, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they're a crayon. Okay, so, and then we have the natural colours. So you have a real nice sort of colour palette. So because you've got the white in the naturals, you can then lighten your various different colours as well. And you've got black in there, so you can darken some of your colours, just like you can if they were pencils. Okay, some lovely different shades of green. So you've got a really nice, what sort of green would you call that? A sage green, I'd call that. And then you've got a dark forest green. You've got a really bright green. So I think what we'll do first, let me see. I'm going to take a piece of white card to start with. I think we'll just scribble out some colour onto a white piece of card. So let's start with the lively colour. Okay, so if I do this, maybe you'll get a better idea on the colourings. So I'm going to take a brush and then just brush off those crumbs. So let's have a look. Oh, that's a nice colour. Okay, then we've got a lovely dark green. That pine, very waxy. Then we've got oh, that's nice. Nice gold colour. And we've got a lightish brown. Really nice. Then we've got a darker brown. Then we've got our black. And then we have our white. Probably not going to see the white. No, of course you won't. Why would you see white on white? Let me just dust off. You can see the white now because it's picked up the colour from the brush. I wonder whether that's a technique. Okay, so then we've got the vibrant yellow. Lipstick red. That's what that reminds me of. Then we've got the lovely blue. So just doing this, it gives you, sometimes you look at the colours, but unless you put it down onto a piece of paper or a piece of card, you can really see the true nature of those colours. Okay. And the purple, and then finally a dark sort of navy blue. Let me zoom in a little bit now so you can sort of see those in a little bit more detail. Right, where's my list gone? So I need to come inwards. So let's zoom in there. Okay. So you can see there you have a real nice sort of colour palette. And I say you can combine colours together to come up with different colours. Okay. So let's see, if I want to, I'm going to go for this lovely green from the Naturals. Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to add some colour to my leaves. Okay. So let me just give myself some space. So this is going to be my practice piece to work on. Okay. So I'm going to apply the colour on the back as normal. So I do have options. Okay, I can go directly onto the leaves with a little bit of colour. Let's do a comparison. So if I do this side, I'm just applying the crayons direct. Okay, and then we can do the normal technique with a little bit of Dorso oil on a spot-on sponge, like so. Then I'm going to take a blending pen and an nib. Now this one's already got green on it. See, so I'm just sort of reactivating that, getting rid of some of the oil. Where have my glasses gone? Tired eyes today. Definitely need the glasses. Definitely think I need to go back to that's a lot better. So now what I can do very lightly, just like we do with the pencil, I can start to blend out. It's not the pigment, it's sort of breaking down the crayon. Okay, so we can definitely see, look, if I put that underneath, I reckon I can get away with using that like so. So what we're doing now is we're just breaking the crayon down using the blending nib and the crayon direct to the parchment. Okay, not worried about going over the edges. I mean, this looks rough. Okay, so I've just loaded up with a little bit more oil, like so. And we're just slowly spreading out the crayon. Because I know I do personally, I always tend to go for the pencils. I thought, you know what? I'm sure there's many a technique out there in the traditional parching library of different things that you can do with the crayons. But for me, the obvious thing, obviously, is they were used in a traditional style to sort of douse in sort of larger areas in the background. Okay. And because we're colouring on the back again, it's not going to affect the white line art. Okay. So what I'm going to do now I'm just going to take my razor pencil. I'll probably get away with the pink end. I'm just going to tidy up around the edges of the white lines where I've just gone over the edge, like so. There we go. Safety net, definitely. I mean, I like to put my glasses on, so question for Ria, can I use the sponges? Yes, you can just keep using them. I often just keep turning them round. Obviously, when you start to run out of clear space, I mean, you could, if you want to, go down the sides as well, but they're definitely reusable. Okay, so we're just tidying up our lovely leaves. Definitely going to take a brush and just get rid of the debris rather than blow. Okay, so let's turn this over now, and now you can see we've got a really nice sort of subtle colour. Jane Lindsay reckons that the Dorso crayons came before the pencils. It is possible, and you may be right. I'm sure some of our trad parchers in the room will be able to answer that question. I'm not sure the timeline of the release of the various different products from Pergamano. Okay, so now we've so that's one way of applying the colour. Okay, so that was just the crayon direct onto the parchment, and then the blending pen just to sort of smooth out the colour. Okay, so another way of doing it is I can take my crayon and I can scribble onto my mix mat. Okay, and then I can take a drop of oil. Drop. He says a drop, and then he pours a gallon out. Come on, just a drop. Come on. There. Oh, look. See, I told you. Look at that. 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. Tap, tap, tap. Okay. So now the other option is we can pick up and we can mix the oil in with the crayon. Okay, like so. So let's have a look, see what this looks like. So let's do this side now. So now, so the tip of the nib is picking up the colour, and so now we're using it like a pen. Okay, and then when it starts to become, if you find that it comes a little bit too glued, just go back and just mix a little bit more oil in with it, and then apply the colour as normal. See, look, my voice is really slowing down now. Nothing like a little bit of colouring or a little bit of getting in the groove to chill out. And I'm going to do that mindset. I'm going to say that it's really cold in this room. Does that really work when you say it? When you're feeling really, really hot, if you tell yourself that you're feeling really, really cold. So there we go. Pat Hoskins has said, yep, the crayons did come out first. There we go. So we're just applying, and it does. See, I think I like this method. Seem to have a little bit more, not control. Well, I have got control because hopefully I'm staying within the lines. Okay, so now let's have a look. So that one's a little bit dark, so I can take out. If you find that you want to remove some of the color, or you want to add more in, then you can sort of just start to sort of build up your layers. That's very, very soft and subtle. And I can still take my eraser pencil and tidy up. So that's where we've gone directly from the mix mat onto the blending nib, and then painted or coloured in, depending on what sort of reference you want to give it. I'm sure there is, for me it's just colouring in. So that's another option. Okay, then there's another way we can do it. We can take a tissue and do the old icing piping bag, okay, with the dorsing. So what we can do is we can turn it into a point. We can pick up the oil from our mix mat, and then we can dorse or oil all over the back first. Okay, good way of cleaning the oil off the back, off of your mat as well. Okay, so now here, what we've done, you can't, I don't know if you can see it, you can't see, but there's definitely a layer of oil on there. But because it's really warm in here, it's evaporated quite quickly. So what we can do now is we can take a clean nib, because that nib, if you can see the difference, the nib in the pen is absolutely saturated with the dorso oil that I picked up because I really flooded it. So now we can pick up our crayon and then colour in. Let's have a look. Is that doing anything? A little bit. I reckon it needs a tiny little bit of the oil on the mix mat just to add that colour. Not so sure about that. Let's put some more colour down. See, sometimes just having a play and see what comes up with. Let's have a look. I suppose if you was doing larger areas like hills and mountains, then what you're doing is you're putting sort of like an undercoat down, aren't you, with the dorso oil. It sort of acts as like a lubricant. So this is definitely giving me a lighter shade of green. I suppose that's good to know, isn't it? So we're still just picking up. I've only put a tiny little bit of oil on the nib at the very beginning. There we go. We definitely need some more. I think this method is using more of the crayon. It's quite creamy in consistency. Okay, tiny little bit of oil just to get the juices flowing, so to speak. Anybody else got any suggestions out there? So any of the experts out there think, oh, you could do this, you could do that, or definitely open to suggestion. Because I didn't really follow, I suppose, the traditional style of parchment craft, a lot of it I've obviously seen some of the trad parters doing, like Josie and Linda Williams and the likes, but I've never really sort of thought, oh, okay, definitely more subtle. Okay, let me bring a white piece of card in underneath so that we can maybe really need. Okay, let's try this. So let's turn it over and have a look. Let's move that out of the way. So this one here, this option, let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so this option here is where I went direct onto the parchment and then used a blending pen with the Dorso oil in to spread the colour out. This one across the top, I put the crayon on the mix mat and mixed it with some Dorso oil. And then on this one down here, which is very soft and subtle, is where I put oil all on the parchment direct and then picked up the colour from the mix mat with a tiny, tiny bit of Dorso oil. So, and for me, when I'm colouring in, I always colour in on the back because it's the safest option for me, because I haven't got to be careful staying away from the white lines, because on the front, the fibres are exposed, so it's more likely to bleed into the white line art and take away the white line. So which one? Let's do this. So we'll go number 1, number 2, or number 3. So 1 was direct to parchment and blended out. Number 2 was blended on the mix mat. And number 3 was wiped on the back with the Dorso oil and then picked up from the mix mat. So let's have a little vote, shall we? Which one? Which one do you think looks best? So Pat's saying number 2. Oh, there we go. All of a sudden, a flurry. Oh, it's a real mix. No one's going for number 3 yet. I agree. It's either 1 or 2 for me. Definitely. What? Isn't it clever? I mean, I do like the subtleness of that. And I can go back in and add more colour to intensify it if I want to. It's interesting though, isn't it? The different sort of techniques. And I suppose it would be the same with the pencils, because the techniques I've just, are they techniques? The things I've just played with, I'm not going to call them techniques, because techniques make them sound as if they're clever. They're not. It's just different options. And let's call them soft techniques that I've just used with the crayons, you can do exactly the same with the pencils as well. So if you've got the pencils, try the different options. Try scribbling out like we normally do on your parchment with the B pencils, and then blending out with the Dorso oil. Then maybe try scribbling it out on the mix mat and then putting a little bit of oil and then colouring in the leaves. And then the other option is where you wipe the back of the parchment with the Dorso oil and then scribble out. I mean, you could do a mix on that one. It really is. So Glynis was saying, we also used to get a paper stump, dip it in the blending solution and take the colour from the crayon. Okay. Interesting. So I'm just getting carried away reading. Sorry. Track parties that didn't have to worry about white outlines so much as they very likely traced. It's just evolved and will continue to do so. That's good. Oh, thank you, Pat. Okay, so all right, look, I've got a fourth one down here. So should we try what Glynis is suggesting then? Okay, let's give that one a go. Wouldn't have thought that. I suppose in my head, when Barbara's using watercolor pencils, and often if this was watercolor pencils, often people would sort of take a wet brush and touch the pencil. And I just remember Barb saying about the dampness can cause the pencil to rot because it's wood. But obviously there isn't any wood on the crayons, so there's nothing for it to rot away, is there? Rot away? Is that right? That doesn't sound like a proper word. Rot away. Oh dear, right, okay. Let's try this technique then from Glynis. Okay, I'm going to put a tiny little bit more oil on my spot-on sponge. Woo, there we go. Okay, Glynis, question, and I'll have to wait for the response. When you was using a paper stump, did you really flood the paper stump with the oil, or was it just a quick dip? Quick dip or flood? That's all I need to know. We can try both, but come on, Glynis, get typing. But I think it's great to show the various different. It's not technique. It isn't. I wouldn't call it a technique. Method. Should we call it a method? What's the difference between a technique and a method? Is there one? I'm sure there is. But try both because the nibs are a different animal. Thanks, Gladys. Right, okay. Let's go for a quick dip. So I've done a quick dip with my nib into the dorso. And then I'm going to stroke the crayon to pick up. Ooh, this is interesting. Very creamy. Interesting. Okay. A little bit more oil. Not so much of the crayon. I'm doing it on black, so you can't see until I do a reveal. I think it looks okay, but I want to... It feels more creamy in consistency. When I'm doing it this method. And the only sort of likable comparison that I can give was when I did it direct to the parchment. I suppose because there's more colour down, wasn't there? I think this will be nice. I can sort of see it, but I don't want to. What are the Perga nibs made of? I think they've made of a similar material or as like felt tip pens, because they sort of hold their shape. They're definitely not paper though, and I know paper were a lot more absorbent. I suppose anything. I mean, the nibs can be just as absorbent. If I was to stick this into the dorso oil, it would definitely absorb the oil. But then what you have to remember is that if you're doing that, is always remove the nib when you're finished, because the oil will definitely cause, see this one here is completely flooded compared to this one here that isn't. Can you see, you can see the difference in the colorway, that the orangey is definitely where it's really flooded. So should we have a look now? Should we have a look at this bottom bit? I've got a feeling I might like this best, but I might not when I turn it over. Ready? Look at what's all this mess. Okay, let's turn it round. Okay. I'll tell you what, that it's annoying me. Let me get rid of all this debris. You can't see it on camera. But on here, look. Let me get rid of all of this. It's really bugging me. See, look. See? You can rub it out. And I'm using the pink ends of the rubber to remove. Definitely not gone right up to the lines on these. The light panel would make a difference on this when colouring in. See those little pigments, those little dust particles, they get everywhere. Okay, so let's turn it over now. Interesting. Okay, so number 4. Okay, number 4 is where we've taken the nib to the crayon. I'm a mucky pup. I am indeed. I've probably got it. No, I haven't. I thought I'd have it on my. It's those little dust particles, isn't it? But at least I could rub it all out. So I'm pleased about that. Yeah, I quite like that technique. I suppose for finer areas, but I mean, these leaves are quite large, aren't they? If I take, well, for those of you at home that already have the nibs, if I pop a nib next to the leaf, you can see they're quite big. But because if that doesn't make sense. So if I wanted to work in a smaller area with the crayons, then I think that technique by taking the nib to the crayon. Thank you, Jane. Jane, the teacher in the room. Technique is a procedure or skill for completing a task. A method is the way something is done. Okay. See, I knew there'd be a difference. So, but to be honest, I don't think this is, I don't know, is it a technique? It's just playing. So I do actually, I like number 4 now. Thank you, Glynis, for that. So Pat saying a few scribbles on the back of the leaves with Dorso crayon, then spread with blending nib is best method. There you go. So which was number 1, wasn't it, Pat? I should put some little notes on it because I'll forget what this one was. So I'll tell you what, let's write this down now for those of you that are tuning in. So 1 was scribble and blend. I hate my writing. Scribble and blend. Then 2 was mix matte and blend. 3 was oil and blend. And 4 was nib to crayon. There we go. So you could do something like this yourself, couldn't you? You could just trace out a leaf several times, and then just have this as your little key to see which technique. Maybe it will vary from design to design that you're working on. But I think the winner for me now is number 4. Definitely. I wouldn't have even thought about it. And the reason I wouldn't have thought about it is because I always remember I can hear Barb's voice with the watercolor pencils and taking a water brush to the pencils and rotting the wood. But there's no wood on the crayons at all. So why that was in my head, I don't know. Really don't know. But I think it's a really nice way of sort of having a play. And then you can combine both, can't you? So for example, okay, so let's try something really drastic then. Uh-oh. I'm going to see whether this works. It'll probably go completely wrong. Okay. So I'm going to take I've got a new nib. I'm going to load it up with some oil. Then I'm going to take some red, like so. And then I'm going to be really drastic and take some black. Ooh, what's this going to do? It's either going to make a mess or it's going to be something really nice. Too much black. Too much black. It's like a really dirty red. Oh dear. Well, I don't know. As I blend it out more, there's definitely more black than there is red. Look, you can even see that in the nib. I wonder if I hold it. See, there's the red. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit more red. There's too much oil. It's just moving too much. That's terrible. I've tried it. And I don't like it. So I know not to do it again. But I suppose in a what? Okay, no, we're looking on the back as well, aren't we? So let's turn it over. I don't like it. No. Okay, let's try this option then. Let's take the mix mat. Let's put some red on the mix mat and a tiny little bit of black. Okay. Then I'm not going to put the oil on the mat. I'm going to put the oil on the nib. So we're going to blend. Let's pick up a little bit. That's better. I've got more control. Okay. So by doing it this way, I've definitely got more control rather than using the nib to crayon technique. So if I turn this over now, no, it still looks rubbish. No, it's not. It's because I've turned the nib round. It's got more of the black in it. But as I blend it out, in a way the black sort of disappears. There we go. So have a play with mixing your colours. But for me, the black was definitely too harsh. I mean, it's the stronger pigment, isn't it, of the colour? But we tried it, and I've just clocked the time, so to speak. How can it be almost 10 to 11 already? See, I had a plan for this hour, and all we've done is we've played and practiced. But you know what? Sometimes having that hour of doing that can make a difference, and that's where you can learn. Well, I certainly learned that way. That okay, well, let's try this. So I now know not to do the red and the black, even a tiny. Maybe I should have gone for the brown or one of the darker colors, but not black, just to change the color of that red. So have a play, use the mix mat, or just use a piece of parchment and just scribble on that and bring your colors together. It will definitely help with the blending nibs, but also how much oil you apply on there. Maybe I would have had better control with the oil direct onto the mix mat. Give that a go. See if that makes a difference. But I think I've really enjoyed this hour, just trying different things. Sometimes we often don't get the opportunity to try that. We just sort of go with the flow, so to speak. We've always used the pencils. We've always done it this way. And sometimes we can be a little bit scared on trying something. But for the sake of half hour, 45 minutes, just play and don't do it on any work. I mean, if you've got a practice piece that you can work on, and then if you don't like it, the eraser pencil, rub it out and start again. So it's not as if you have to trace out loads and loads and loads of different pieces to try it on. If you're working on a particular piece like this one here with the frame, just trace the leaf out and try the different combinations. So I want to try one more thing before we carry on, while I'm waffling and telling you what else is on the horizon this week. For those of you that were in the shack yesterday with Bob, we've got a busy couple of days coming up on TV. Now, what was I going to do? Oh, that's what I was going to do. Okay, so I'm going to take the darker green now, and I'm going to scribble some onto my mix mat, like so. Then I'm going to, let's go for the green nib that I already used. Okay, and let's see if I've got any. Yeah, there's still some oil on that nib. Okay, glasses again. Okay. Right, okay. So, yes, coming up this week on TV. So I'm going to try this and then I'll discuss afterwards. So I'm going to do it on the piece that was, oh, no, I need to do it on another piece, don't I? Right, let me quickly trace out some leaves while I'm talking. So I digress. Okay, let's just quickly pop that on there. Why quickly? We've got plenty of time. Where's my Groovi tabs gone? They're hiding on there, just like so. Okay, let's just bring that in there. Okay, so I'm going to take my number one tool and I'm just going to trace out some leaves. So yes, so we have coming up on Thursday. It's still part of the Create and Craft Christmas 12 Days of Christmas. So on Thursday at 3 o'clock, it's in the shack on Create and Craft with Barb. Then straight after that hour, I'm on at 4 o'clock, and we're going to revisit the lovely little feel-good gnomes and elves. Then there's a couple of hours break, and then Barb's back at 7 o'clock with the second hour of the shack. Designs fantastic baubles. Barb blogged about it on Sunday, if you want a sneaky peek of those. And then, so that's 7 p.m. And then I'm on straight after, again, at 8 o'clock with the Gnomes and Elves. Then on Friday morning, I'm on bright and early with the final hour of the Elves and Gnomes at 8 a.m. And then Barb's got a new show at 9 a.m. Mixed Media. There we go. The lovely Sue's popped all those up. Excuse me. And then at 1 o'clock, finishing off the day, is Barb with the second hour of the Mixed Media. Then, believe it or not, Sunday is the first Sunday of the month, and it is July on Saturday. How did that happen? So then Barb's on at 3 until 5 for a 2-hour slot for all things sort of not necessarily festive, but wintry and everything else. And it still carries on with the 12 days of the Christmas event. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to do this technique and just put some green down onto these leaves, like so. Okay. So there's lots to keep you occupied on TV. If it's too warm to go outside, then switch on the TV, draw the curtains, and keep us company. Okay, so let's have a look. So I do like this technique from Glynis. Thank you, Glynis. So we've got our sort of base coat down. And if I put the white card underneath, I can see where I haven't gone up to the edge of the lines. Okay. Right, so that's given me my sort of like base coat. Okay. Then what I wanted to do was take this darker green, and I'm going to get back to that other green nib, like so. Pick up some of the darker green, and then start to add some of the darker green. Maybe I should just do it down one side to get that two-tone look. Maybe I'll just go over. So this one I'm going to go over completely. Okay, so let's have a look now. There we go. So this one now has a combination of that sort of sage green and the darker green. And then on this one, I've just put a little bit of depth just to half of the leaf. So yeah, have a play. Just draw some leaves out and have a practice. And I think next week, what we're going to do, I'm going to decide, but I know what I'm going to go for next week. I'm going to go with the nib to crayon next week. Let's bring that white piece of card in. I'm definitely going to go nib to crayon on my finished piece. And then we're going to have a look at colouring in the rose with the Dorso crayons as well, because there's a really lovely colour palette in both selections. Okay. So don't forget, if you don't already, sign up to Groovi and Clarity Worldwide on Facebook. For those of you maybe you're tuning in via our YouTube page, all of our design team are on there to offer help and advice, and some of our lovely crafting friends also offer advice as well. Don't ever be afraid to ask a question. What else? So you've also got Barb's blog, which is barbaragrayblog.com, that keeps you up to date with all things Clarity and all things in the Shack. On a Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, you've got the Clarity Matters blog that lovely Gracie looks after. So on Saturday, if you're not into Facebook, maybe you think, no, Facebook's not for me, then there's often what it's called Saturday Share. So Grace shares a number of pieces of artwork from both groups on the blog. So that's claritymattersblog.com. On a Sunday, there is a step-by-step tutorial of either Groovi, Stampy, Inky. The lovely design team have been firing through some brand new projects that we'll schedule in with Grace over the coming weeks. Both the Saturday share and the techniques on, or the step-by-steps on Sunday always go live at 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to keep up to date as well of all things Clarity, then maybe sign up to our newsletter if you don't already, because that will keep you informed of TV shows, events, special offers, designs of the week, wigigs, half price highlights, gives you information about the clubs that we do with the Stamp, Stencil and Groovi. So there's lots and lots of information and knowledge out there. Just need to know where to find it. So thank you to the lovely Sue for popping all the links up. Thank you as always to the design team, and Glynis, thank you for that tip regarding the nib to the crayons. I'll definitely be doing that next week. What was I going to say then? So thank you once again for your company. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay out of trouble. Stay in, I was going to say stay in the warm. Stay in the cool, out of the warm. Maybe get those crayons out of the box. Ken. Give them a play. See what you can come up with. Maybe you'll discover something new, because we all have different mindsets. And as sort of everyday crafters going into the world of parchment craft, maybe we'll come up with something new. Maybe we won't. But thank you very much for your company. So I'll see you on TV Thursday and Friday. I'll be with you behind the cameras with Barb on Thursday, Friday and Sunday. And then it's back in the shack on Monday with Barb at 10 o'clock. Otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday for another episode of Groovi Tuesday. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, everybody. I need to go and switch this light off and lie down in a dark corner. It must be the smell of the Dorso oil. So I shall see you all next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.